aren't necessarily great in that particular area of Modesto, as you can see right there off of Highway 99 in the Prescott Estates area.
And as for the need of those funds, of extra staffing in that area, you certainly heard it in that sound that we heard from the Stanislaus County Sheriff earlier when he talked about that it is simply beyond tragedy to know that a change in funding, a change in staffing levels, a change in the amount of security that they're able to put in a particular area might have made the difference in one of his deputies being able to survive what essentially was a routine procedure that they do probably a dozen times a week.
As we heard earlier, this is a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday activity. They go to these homes. This is part of their what they do. This is a very routine activity for them as well. Let's bring in Mike Delastrita now. He's live in the newsroom with more for us. Mike?
And let me give you guys just a little preview of what you're going to be hearing from Nick James in a few minutes, and I won't go through all the details as he's working this, but we had heard about that possible blog post, and every time we mention this, I just want to make sure we're couching it. There's a blog post from a guy who is claiming to be the shooter and posted on some obscure blog. The post, though, is very telling. It says, I just shot me some cops, asked me anything, and then he posts a phone number. So we have one of two options here. Either this is the actual shooter, and he's accessing the internet via his smartphone or a laptop, or it's somebody who's pulling off some sort of sick prank here. No doubt at this hour, cops know the answer to that, but that posting has spawned quite the thread of people responding from around the world, and there have been a few responses that the original poster may have made. So Nick James is sorting through that. It's an obscure blog that is full of expletives, so we're trying to clean that up for you before we take it to the air. But that is what the Nick James will have in just a moment. But as we continue to watch these pictures, there are a few things that we start to think about in terms of how this is going to continue to unfold over the next little while here. Right now, time is on the side of the Sheriff's Department. And remember that we're dealing with not only just the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, but all these surrounding agencies. We know of Calaveras coming in to help. We saw Merced come in with their SWAT team. Modesto PD is there, and certainly more agencies than we can mention right now. So once they start organizing the multi-agency efforts, and once they are in the position to know this is our A team, this is our B team that's going to back up when these guys need a break, they know that right now they have this guy, at least they hope, cornered in that home. Still nothing at this hour definitive that they know that he's in there. They have not answered that directly. They say they cannot, or at least will not be able to talk about that right now. But all indications are, and all activity shows us, that this guy is likely in this home. Because if there had been the report of this guy potentially escaping this home and this guy out around town, we would be hearing standard traffic. We'd be hearing calls out for a possible shooter. We have not heard a single call about that, nor have we seen any loss of the manpower out here. So just by deduction, even without hearing from the Sheriff's Department, we can at least presume that their thought process is strictly on the side of this guy still being in this home. The question is it possible that he's sitting there dead on the floor? That's a possibility. What's happening outside of our vantage point are the things that we will never be allowed to be close up enough to see. And look, one of the first tools at their disposal that they can make sure is not going to put any lives in danger is that bomb squad robot. Not only is that robot great when you think you might have an explosive, that robot's also great to put in a situation where you have an active shooter, somebody who's already shot and killed a deputy and shot and killed a civilian. No doubt that that bomb squad robot, potentially more than one robot, already has its eyes and ears with its cameras and microphones around that apartment, potentially inside that unit. We've seen cases before. Well, they'll break out that window. Well, you know what? There's probably a broken window. We know they fired tear gas in there. At least we believe they fired tear gas in there. They can deploy these units, these bomb squad robots inside. They may already have an idea of the sights and sounds in there. But I'll tell you what, if they were able to get a vantage point and there was a body lying on the floor, we would not likely see this kind of scenario, this kind of setup. We don't know that they've had that kind of access. We do know, though, that in the past, 2.5 hours now, more than that, pretty much 3 hours plus since this has happened, that a whole lot more has happened behind the scenes than we're aware. But the fact that we're not seeing these resources lessen, the fact that we're not seeing these cars leave, gives us every indication that this is still just as active as it was 3 hours ago, and more than that, when this guy opened fire, killing 2 people.
Mike Delastrita in the newsroom for us, and as we were talking about, he said there 3 hours ago, this all began, this all happening in Modesto just after 11 a.m. to bring everybody up to speed here. What has occurred, according to the Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen, he said that two sheriff's deputies were serving eviction notices on this particular location in the Prescott Estates there, as well as a civilian. Apparently shots were fired during this situation. One sheriff's deputy was killed, a civilian was also killed, and they do believe that the suspect was barricaded inside. So again, this happening just after 11 o'clock this morning and continues to unfold as the day goes on. Several jurisdictions there arriving, bringing in their bomb squads, bringing in their SWAT teams, bringing in their armored cars as well. We have seen a multi-agency response to this incident. They needed all the help they can get there as well to bring in as many units as possible to make sure that comes to a very careful end.
And any time a law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty, it is a galvanizing moment for law enforcement, for the entire community here in Northern California, because these people our law enforcers are putting their lives on the line, and their families know what's at stake every time they leave for work every day. They're not sure if they're going to see their loved one again. In this case, there is a family somewhere out there who is facing that terrible, tragic reality tonight, as well as the family of the civilian whose life was lost there as well.
Again, we still do not have the names of the victims in this case. Again, sheriff's deputies and the sheriff himself being very tight-lipped about this situation at this point as their investigation continues. They wanted to make sure that families were notified before that ever was told to the media and to the public as well. So they are doing that as we speak as well. We're hoping to get some new information in a press conference that's coming up here shortly. But again, no information on the identities of these people. We are again working on the identity of this particular person who is inside of this home, who's barricaded himself inside this home for a number of hours now after the shooting took place. And again, working to see whether or not this blog post that we've heard about is legitimate at this point.
And we're also digging more into what led up to it. Whoever lives in that place must have known that they were facing eviction. So this wouldn't have come as any surprise to have deputies and locksmiths show up on their door. We have Derek Shore, who's live on the scene. He's giving us a different vantage point. Derek, why don't you describe where you are and what you can see that's different from the images that we've been seeing already?
Well, we're on the exact opposite of where, excuse me, we got a cop coming through right here, so I'm going to step out of the way as we do this. We are facing south. I'll help the cop as we move on. We've heard a siren moving, and now this police officer is taking off at a high rate of speed, but we are facing south here on Prescott, excuse me, as we try to kind of get out of the way of these officers. But you can see Chrysler, which is right on my right-hand side, and down that street is where this crime scene takes place. A huge response from a number of different agencies. We've seen the SWAT team from Manteca. We have Live Oak out here. Just a massive amount of manpower out here. They're not running around. They're not speeding around. They seem to be being calm and collected as they continue to try to figure out exactly how they're going to take on this operation. We also see the sheriff over there talking to some top deputies over in front of the command center. But again, we continue to hear some sirens out in the distance, and as I'm speaking, we see a number of the unmarked and marked units taking off from the scene, and so I'm not sure if there may be some activity happening somewhere else, but of course our news desk will be monitoring to see if that is going to be the case. Right now, we have a lot of presence staying right where we're at, but a number of cops, police officers staying quite away from the scene. So that is the situation here. We are on facing south here on Prescott. On my right is Chrysler, and you can see the SWAT team, some SWAT team members moving out from the scene at this point. Not really sure what has happened or what is going to happen at this time as we just got on the scene, but this is the situation as we know it at this moment.
And clearly a very fluid situation out there as well, Derek.
So Derek, you are right now, your camera is pointed to the south. You're on the north end of the barricaded area.
Yeah, that's right, and it's right in front of the Modesto Police Command and the Stanislaus County Command, and we can see Sheriff Christensen, I believe that's him, over there talking to a number of the SWAT team members. It looks like something possibly may have just wrapped up here as we see a number of those SWAT team members move out from Chrysler where that suspect's home is, or the suspect we believe to be inside that house, and so we're not really sure exactly what just took place, but we are facing north on Prescott, and on my right-hand side, down Chrysler, is where the SWAT team has their members trained at this point. Though I should say, we saw a number of members of the SWAT team just move out from that area. So what exactly just happened, we'll try to figure it out, and we'll bring it to you.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Derek Shore, reporting for us live. Thank you.
All right, Nick Jane's also joining us now live from the newsroom with new details, especially about this blog post that we've been talking about now. Nick, what's the latest?
And it was a bizarre blog post that caught our eye just a little while ago. Somebody posted on an underground bulletin board, "I just shot me some cops. Ask me anything. Hurry though, SWAT about to bust in." Somebody purporting to be the suspect in question. We have another post as we've been sorting through a litany of responses, a flurry of them sparked by that initial post. There's another one here that we want to read for you. And again, we should mention and really emphasize that we do not know that this is the suspect posting to somebody claiming to be the suspect who shot and killed a sheriff's deputy and a civilian. Here's the second post that we found 15 minutes after the first one. Quote, "They think my Tahoe outside is rigged with explosives. That would be too obvious. I bet they're wondering where my other 4 cars are right now. They'll find out." So there is that. Another chilling post potentially by the suspect who still could be holed up inside that apartment. Again, we don't have confirmation that it is a suspect, and it's impossible to verify it because this message board, all anonymous, and there are literally hundreds if not thousands of responses from that original post. So we're going to keep sorting through it. If we see anything else that catches our attention, we'll bring it to you guys. Back to you for now.
Nick, can you repeat that one more time? Go through
Yeah.
that blog post one more time.
Okay, one more time. It says, quote, "They think my Tahoe outside is rigged with explosives. That would be too obvious. I bet they're wondering where my other 4 cars are right now. They'll find out."
Too obvious. That seems like he's almost taunting police, taunting law enforcement.
Right, you have to wonder about the state of mind of somebody who potentially could be blogging just minutes after shooting and killing a sheriff's deputy saying, "Ask me anything. I'm holed up and the SWAT is about to bust in, so hurry up." There is, of course, a lot of skepticism on this blog post, people questioning whether it is, in fact, the suspect. Look, if it isn't, this is somebody who's is very sick, trying to make light of the situation or trying to get themselves into this where really it has no place. But it is very chilling and would be just another bizarre layer to all of this if it is, in fact, that suspect posting these.
No kidding. All right,
With
Nick.
the FBI now involved, they'll be able to find out for certain who is posting that, and with a relatively quick degree of time that will elapse before they find that out. So the FBI involved in this right now, as are all of these many agencies that right now are trying to bring this situation to a resolution.
Let's get out to Mike Delastrito now. He has some new information for us as well from the newsroom. Mike?
Well, Christina and Shannon, I just wanted to point out, we had heard from Derek Shore just a few minutes ago about him seeing some members of the SWAT team walking out as if something may have happened. I just want to caution, not that we know that that's not the case, but one thing that we do know is the sheer number of SWAT team members on scene there, that there's going to be a routine process here of not only relieving some SWAT team members and putting in the backups and the replacements, but you're also going to have potentially a surplus of SWAT team members that you might have guys waiting to be sent out as we see Stanislaus County SWAT and that armored vehicle pass by the camera. There was another thing that we were able to see from that new vantage point that we're getting from this behind the scenes angle, where we're seeing a whole lot more police activity, a whole lot more activity of the SWAT team, because this is right next to where the incident command post is. And I'm not sure that we have the ability to swing back around and see that incident command post, but right now that is ground zero for where they're taking in all of their information, for where they are going to be making all of their decisions. And that is where you have the top dogs in the sheriff's department making the calls here, calling the shots from inside that mobile command center. We don't see it on the screen here, but it is just off camera. And you're going to have not only your watch commanders and some of your top lieutenants, but you're going to have your undersheriff there. We saw Sheriff Adam Christensen just outside that mobile command post. And just reading into a little bit of body language, it certainly seems that that there is no bittersweet moment here, not the happiness of a situation ending. All I'm reading into this is a little bit of tension, and a tension that is certainly deserved, as this is going to become potentially a marathon mission to try and end this. There is no reason why they're going to say, okay, it's quitting time, we're coming up on 2:45, let's bring this thing to an end. Their main goal right now is to take this guy into custody and to do it in a way to make sure that there are no further casualties to anybody who's now involved in this process. Potentially, we know dozens and dozens of officers, it could be more than that, who are on scene, on the ready now, and also on scene ready to back up at a moment's notice.